This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are back talking about football. Specifically, we are breaking down the conference championship games from this past week. We're talking about how the Eagles dominated the Washington Commanders. We're also talking about how, well, the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl. Shocker. And then we're going to talk about the Jim Knowles move from Ohio State to Penn State. What does this mean about Ohio State's culture, if anything? What does this mean for Penn State? And where does Ohio State go from there? All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are alive and well here I'm in Hungary. If you never tuned in, I'm actually not in the same country as Josh. This is just a fun fact. I'm in Hungary right now, and Josh is back in Ohio. And the fun fact is it has been warmer for both of us. It's been like 53, 54 degrees for me. It's been like 46. I think we're all losing our minds because we're like, is the spring here? And then in 3 weeks, it's going to be like, no, winter is still here. But no, yeah. How was your week, Josh? I'll tell you about mine in a sec. But how was your week, and how's the work going?
Yeah, us being in completely different countries is one of the funnest facts I like sharing with my friends when they find out that I have a podcast that I do with somebody and they'll ask about like the setup that we got, like the tech and stuff. And I was like, well, we actually do it through Zoom because he's in Hungary and they're like, are taken aback. They're like, wait, Hungary? Like the country? I'm like, yeah, dude, he's in Europe. So he's like 5, sometimes 6 hours time difference of me. So what usually tends to work is like the middle of the afternoon for me and late evening for him, and they're just like blown away with how that works. And then they always ask like, how do I even know someone that lives out there? And I'm like, well, he didn't always used to live out there. It goes
Yeah, Josh
back to the
doesn't go
college
around and like
days.
find European people to hang out with. Josh doesn't do that on
I
a
just
daily
go to
basis.
like Reddit and go to like our podcasters in Europe and try to find somebody that wants to connect. I don't know. But anyway,
Man.
as far as the states go, to our United States audience, we probably have mostly an Ohio audience. You've been experiencing
Yeah.
mostly what I have, which is after that crazy like polar
Winter
vortex or
blizzard.
whatever you want to call it, winter season of a few weeks ago. Now we're back into like upper 30s, low 40s these last few days. So it's makes it a lot more bearable. Walking outside, it feels like I don't even necessarily need even a hoodie because of how warm it seemingly feels.
It's true.
And I don't really need much of anything outside of like long sleeve t-shirt outside or inside the factory at work. So it's been
Hmm.
better. I can't complain about these last few days, Ben.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's funny because I went to school the last 3 days in shorts. I taught in shorts, and I get all the weird looks from like, locals and also internationals that I teach with. And I'm like, can we think about this for a second? We never get this weather in January. Do you think I'm crazy and not going to take advantage of this like 50-degree weather? And like I'm going to wear shorts because I'm like, this is awesome. And so I still get those weird looks. But no, generally
Yeah.
I think it's been fun. And actually, to be honest with you, you're talking about the 6 hour difference thing. The weirdest thing is like Christmas gifts. Because actually I'm wearing this Jesus One shirt that my dad got me and my mom got me for Christmas, and then I'm wearing a new hat, High State hat. Um, but it's funny because your Christmas gifts always end up being in like January when they arrive, so you get like
Mm.
double Christmas, which is kind of fun. But that's one of the I don't know. Some say it's a bad thing. I think it's kind of a perk in a sense, living overseas. But enough with us because no one wants to listen about our lives. If we did that, we would have a really weird podcast. That'd be boring podcast. But we are going to talk about some sports because some cool things are going to be happening. Obviously, here in the next few weeks, we have the Super Bowl, and we have a lot of other little things that are slowly becoming kind of fast upon us, and some other fun sports happening as well. So, Josh, why don't you kick us off? What are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah, as you said, we have a Super Bowl matchup now. We know that the
Shocking.
Philadelphia Eagles will be playing the Kansas City Chiefs, a
Oh,
rematch
shocking.
of a few years ago's matchup. But the way that both of these games went over the weekends were pretty different. And I actually got
Hmm.
to stay up and watch the Commanders and the Eagles, which seemed like a
Wasn't
lot
even a
closer when
game.
I was watching it than what the final score would indicate. That's because Philadelphia outscored Washington 21 to nothing in that fourth quarter. But
Oh,
I don't know how much of it you got to see,
painful.
Ben, but just watching it, like Philadelphia always seemed like the better team on the field. Washington just had to work so much harder. Even going to the first drive, they ran 18 plays. It ended with a field goal. And then Philadelphia, their first possession, handed off to Saquon Barkley, and he scores on their first offensive play.
Yeah.
And it just kind of was like a game like that where Washington just seemed to have to grind to for seemingly pennies on the dollar was what it looked like. And then you get to the half and it's 27-15 Philly at one point. Um, yeah, so or actually, I mean, at one point it was 14-12, and then Philly ended at the half 27-15, and then just pulled away in the second half and made it look
Yeah.
like not even close. But uh, we can talk about the winners first. I think there's a lot that we can say about Washington's season as a whole, but Philly just looks really good right now. Everybody's really playing hard. You can see, like, from the way that Saquon was running on those touchdowns that he got, he just looks super motivated, and this Philly team just
Man,
looks like they're on a
that,
mission.
yeah, and the man, the Giants are really regretting, by the way. That the
We are
Giants are
going to
regretting
let you
this.
test the market. It gets funnier every week.
Oh, it's so great. And I love it because then also then the clip just came out where the GM's son was like draft Jaden Daniels. And I just think it gets more funny because
Mm.
it's like the more and more you hear about this, but it's such a Giants. It'd be like the same with the Cowboys. It'd be like the same thing, but which we might talk about some of the coaching hires in Duval, which which we'll talk about that because that oh boy, cringe level. But no, the Eagles are tremendous. To be honest with you, man, I feel so bad that Jason Kelsey's not with this team right now. I think this seems like the poise of the year for the Eagles to kind of become champs again. They're doing it the old school way. They're saying we're going to run the ball down your throat and you got to stop us. And it's almost like two different versions of two teams going to the Super Bowl. I know we'll talk about the Chiefs, but it's like the Eagles say like you know what we're going to do, and you could try to stop us, but we're going to try to do it the old-fashioned way. I thought one of the most fascinating points in this game was when the refs said they like warned Washington that if they jump off sides again, they can just award a touchdown, which I just think is like such a ref move, like
You
such
talking about
like
when
a
that one safety or whoever jumped
yeah,
over the line when they were lining up
like
for a
multiple
tush push?
times. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I just think that that's such like a power move by the refs. Like I'm sure it's in the playbook, like in the rule book, but it's also like really like it's playoffs, man. Like just like these are the little things
Well,
that people hate.
the other side of that is they're on like the half yard line, so they can just keep committing offsides over and over again. It's only going to be half the distance to the goal, so they're
Yeah,
essentially not even getting any penalty yardage. They're just failing to
yeah,
time it up right. So like eventually we'll time it up right.
yeah. But anyways, like but again, I just think this, like, again, I'm so happy for Saquon Barkley. Like, I've never really been a fan of his, but I've always like, admired just his work ethic at times. And I think just seeing like where he was, especially when you're in New York and you're dealing with all that, and to him to now find a place that says, "Hey, we're going to give you the load you want, and we don't care how we do it," and that's just really cool for me to see.
Yeah, yeah. It's and then it just kind of like goes against the grain of where the NFL is right now. Like Philly didn't necessarily need to go out and pay a guy like Saquon Barkley because they've been to a Super Bowl recently. They've been a consistent playoff team, but they've decided to make a running back that they're paying like a big feature part of their offense, which you don't see a whole lot of teams doing. But
Yeah,
yeah, Saquon ended the day with 118 yards on the ground, three touchdowns. Jalen Hurts also ended the day with three touchdowns on the ground, also one through the air. But on the flip side, yeah, Washington season, what a run for those guys. I don't know how many people saw this
hats
coming
off,
after
man.
being
Hats off, man.
going from the second pick to one of the final four teams in the league. Uh, it looks like they got their guy. I mean, Jaden was all right this one, 255 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Washington overall, man, the turnovers killed them too. They had four in this game, and Philly had none. But Daniels had another 48 on the ground and a touchdown. And like I said, they've been that team in the league that just you hear former players talk about the culture over there. You hear about the way that Dan Snyder was and how he was like around the
And he's
cheerleaders
all
and the front
upset now,
and the
by the
other
way,
front
which I think
off,
is hilarious.
yeah, and the
Which I
front
think is
office
hilarious.
members and like just they're moving on from that. They're getting new faces in the building. Like the culture's changing. It seems to be a more positive place from the way that people talk about it. And I mean, maybe the results are getting reflected on the field now, but yeah, they go from second worst team in the league last year to second best in the NFC this year, and I'm sure all the Washington fans are excited to see what's going to be to come. But I think they got a guy at QB now.
No, I agree. I think he's their guy, and For it's kind of like the way the Lions were and some of these other teams. Like once they finally start, now they're winning. It's like you feel for those guys that were just through all these rough years and that stuck it out. And I think that's really cool. And that's one of my favorite stories of the NFL right now.
Yeah. Uh, the one story that everybody else is seeming to talk about is over in the AFC with how this Chiefs Bills matchup went up. And I had to go to bed after that Eagles one, so I didn't get to see this. But again, it just seems like you only needed to see three, four, five plays of this one to get an idea of how it went. Uh, but the crazy thing in this one, Ben, Buffalo was still right there near the end. The way that the
Yeah.
game went, give you a little summary here for everybody. Buffalo was winning uh, in the third quarter. They were all tied up in the fourth quarter. Harrison Butker
Hmm.
kicks the go-ahead game-winning field goal with 3.5 minutes left in this one to put KC up 32 to 29. But it just seems like the Chiefs, man, over and over again, get special privileges.
I do, man.
Everybody's everybody seems to be pointing most to that 1 second differential between the game clock and the
That's
play
ridiculous, man.
clock.
That was
That
ridiculous.
KC took a play that took them to a 2 minute warning, but the play clock went out and they should have been penalized for a delay of game and were not. The Xavier Worthy catch that nobody had possession of, and the ball hit the ground, and both guys, whoever caught it, used the ground to help, but they call that a catch, and somehow it gets off. Another one I'm seeing people do is that one sequence where it was third and short and then fourth and short, and it looked like Buffalo got a first down both plays, and they were ruled short, spotted short both times. We're seeing missed holding penalties. We're seeing it just seems like it's such a one-sided matchup, and I've been seeing people break down just like how bad it's been. Uh, all of Kansas City's opponents are getting way more roughing the passer calls than what KC's defense is. They're getting way more interceptions overturned than what their opponents are on defensive pass interferences. We're seeing just as a team, uh, like AFC. I can't remember exactly how the guy broke it down, but it's like teams that reached the AFC and the NFC championship the last like 3 or 4 seasons. Kansas City's up nine and like those 15-yard penalties. The Bengals actually somehow made the Super Bowl with their opponents being favored. Like they were -5 when it came to opponent penalties, like
Hmm.
for roughing the passer and stuff like that compared to theirs. Like they seemed to somehow beat the refs. We just saw Ohio State seemingly beat the refs as well on their run with their opponents getting called for the least penalty yardage. So you'd wonder what Ohio State could have had fun, what kind of
Oh
final
yeah.
scores Ohio State could have had if they were even in the middle of the pack of that. But yeah, again, the story of the Kansas City Chiefs win is again the referees, as it has seemed to be for most of their big games.
Yeah, man. I just like I don't know how you're not hiding it now. And this is the other thing that confused me is like why isn't the NFL come out and stay in a statement? Like we haven't heard a single statement about this. Like we've heard them, they're like, "Oh, we'll change things next year." I'm like, "No, no, no. We need a statement like denying this is happening. Like at least do that. If you're not denying it, then that's just you. You might as well saying that it's something's happening." But again, and I'm sure the Bills will say, "Well, we should have done enough to win the game." But it's almost like, yeah, but when your defensive end's getting like chokehold, like just getting a chokehold placed on him as he's rounding the end, it's just what do you want to do at that point, so yeah, it's just it's a weird time, man, and here they are surviving as normal, and they're back in the Super Bowl, and I know we'll talk more about it next week, but it's going to be definitely going to be a good game.
Yeah, they'll be going for the three-peat. It's something that's been a topic of discussion even since the season started. A three-peat in the Super Bowl has never been done before. We've seen teams win 3 out of 4, but we've never seen the three in a row. And as it stands right now, Kansas City is a 1.5 point favorite, uh, but Philly is plus
Philly's tough, man.
105 for money line. So it's a very
Yeah.
close, at least prediction over in Vegas right now for how this is going to go. And it was a close one when they played the first time. And again, it came down to a call at the end of a game, like a defensive pass interference that put Kansas
If
City in
you're
field
Philly,
goal range.
man, your Philly is just get ahead. You got to get ahead early and keep it that way.
Yeah, like they just beat Washington, forcing 4 turnovers and committing none. It's going to take big effort like that. Big effort from Saquon. We're going to need all the touchdowns, no field goals going forward. But yeah, we'll talk more about
True.
that one when it comes around. I'm thinking about laying down a hefty bet on Kansas City just so that even if Philly wins and I'm out of money, that I'm a winner either way because if Kansas City gets this win, I also get to get a little richer. But we'll see. That is what's going on in the NFL, and I know there's been some shuffling in the coaching circle too. The Cowboys got their head coach now,
Uh, you mean their yes
Brian
man? Their
Schottenheimer,
yes man? You mean the
their new
yes
yes
man?
man, Brian Schottenheimer, and they brought in Matt
Stupid hire, man.
Eberflus to be an assistant on their
Another yes
staff.
man.
I don't know if we talked about this yet. The Raiders went out and grabbed Pete Carroll.
That's a
I
big
don't
one.
I don't know if anyone even I didn't think that he'd be available or that was available or even looking, but that seems like it's a shocker to me that Pete Carroll would come out to take this job with the Vegas Raiders, a team that kind of like Washington has not that great of a reputation with the front office. But yeah, if you're only listening and not watching, Ben's flashing the money signs right now. And again, as I've already said on this show, I feel like once or twice money can talk and get a guy out. But if I'm Pete, I don't really know what I'm seeing here for a
And we
long-term
got
future.
yeah. And then we also talk about Duval. Whatever his name is, Liam Cohn, is that his name? Liam Cohn, I think it's what it's called, Cohen, whatever. He left the Buccaneers. Did you hear about that story?
Um,
So he's the new coach of
remember
the
seeing his name
Jaguars.
in the I seen
Yeah.
his name in the
So,
headlines. I can't
anyways,
remember why.
so two things. One, he he interviewed or like he was talking with the Jaguars and then came back to the Buccaneers. They were going to make him the highest paid offense coordinator in history or any coordinator in history. And then he like disappeared for a day and then by the end of the day he was signing a contract to be the head coach of the Jaguars. Like super weird sketchiness going on. No one really knows what happened. But then he does this interview or the press conference, and you know how they say Duval, like that's like their
Yeah.
thing in Jacksonville. But he said it like real creepily, and he was just like smiling. He's like Duval, like just fading. It was like a really weird, like, and now it's a meme, so it's just
Oh,
kind of a weird thing. But yeah, it's
I have
it's
not seen
it's one of
that,
those.
but
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah, it's one of those things where actually I'm gonna pull it up and just let you listen. Um, let's see. Cohen Duval. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go.
All right.
Hold on. Oh, here, let's try to see if you can hear it.
Ben's bringing up the audio right now. We'll see if we can hear it.
Duval. Duval.
Yeah, that is weird.
Duval. And his face, if you watch, it's kind of
Oh
hard to
yeah,
see.
the way that he
He
says
just
it
looks
too. Yeah.
creepy, man. He just looks creepy. It's just weird, man. It's just a weird vibe. The dude gives me some weird vibes. Anyways, you have that one. You have the defense coordinator from the Lions going to the Jets. You have the offensive
Yes.
coordinator Ben Johnson going to the Bears. You still have the Saints with no. They got an offensive coordinator, but they haven't signed a head coach. It's weird. I don't really know what's going on there. Um, so yeah, you have a lot of movement.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens next, but yeah, and then the
No
Browns
pro
obviously
f
got the.
Yeah. Uh no pro football this weekend, Ben, unless you guys are eager to
Mm,
watch the Pro Bowl games, which
ugh,
I
it's
seen that
just
Drake May got
disgusting.
added on as an alternate, and I'm like, oh, cool. Drake May is a Pro Bowler.
Well, it's like when Hunley or whatever, where he's a Pro Bowl starter
Tyler Huntley is a
technically.
Pro Bowl
He's technically
quarterback.
a Pro Bowl starter. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, heck
goodness
of a
gracious.
resume builder there. But moving over to the college scene, also no games going on over there, but we did have some very big news come up in Buckeye country, and that
Mm,
is that Jim Knowles on the move to Penn State. Uh, Kind of came out of nowhere. I know people have mentioned that he is from Pennsylvania, but you just win a national
no,
championship, and
no.
you would think that he would be here to stay for a little while, but is losing a lot of the starters on defense, so that's a valid point. But where he's going over to Penn State also doesn't,
It's a
I don't really
downgrade.
know.
It's a
It,
downgrade.
it does seem like a downgrade job, but gotta kudos James Franklin. He's been making some great defensive coordinator hires lately, getting Manny Diaz, getting Tom Allen, and now he gets to bring over
And
Jim
yet you still
Knowles
can't
and
win the big one.
still can't. No, maybe he needs to make some insane hires on the offensive end, maybe get some insane recruits on the offensive end. I don't know, but yeah, the way this seemed to happen, I've seen different reports, but it seems like Jim Knowles searched this out himself almost.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
it also seemed to take the players by surprise. I seen Igmanosin posted on TikTok to see a Jim on November 1st. Oh, okay,
Hmm.
Jim, we'll see you November 1st or something like that. But
Hmm.
Ben's probably more in tune with the
Yeah.
order that everything happened and stuff.
I
So
mean,
I'll flip it over to him and just
yeah.
give his reaction as a fan and just
I,
stuff like that.
y- you know, at first I was kind of shocked and a little bit frustrated, but I think someone said it great. I think is it JD Pickell? He's over at
JD Pickell at
On
On Three.
Three. He said something like, it's one of those things. It's like kind of the analogy of like the mansion, like when you like something about like losing a part of your mansion or whatever. But it's I'll have to read it. It's something about I'll look at JD Pickell. But anyways, you look at that up on Twitter and find that for me. But it's a great quote that he actually said that I think is just it's
All right.
phenomenal. I saw it on Facebook and I thought it was great. Um, but to give my response, look, there's a lot of things that are out there. I do know this. We've known, and Josh, we've talked about it on the show, that him and Johnson did not see eye to eye. We've talked about this. They didn't really see eye to eye. He wanted a 3-man front with like an extra linebacker. Johnson wanted a 4-man front. We knew this. But also, I feel
Hmm.
like you signing on to Ohio State, you know what Johnson wants. So I feel like that's kind of a weird spot. Um, I don't believe that this is an upgrade for him. I believe that you're going to hitch your wagon to a guy who can barely win a game in the playoff. Like I just, it just seems weird. Yes, you're making 3.2 million, but supposedly, um, High State offered him quite a bit. But I think part of it too is that Ryan Day was very blunt with him after that Oregon loss, and I don't know if he really enjoyed that. I don't know. I will say this to Penn State fans: realize that it's going to take you a few years to get used to this defense. I mean, it took Ohio State 3 years to get a dominant defense, and it might take you that long here. And also then to Ohio State fans, Caleb Downs is going nowhere. He's made that very poignant. He's not following Jim Knowles. Like he's not going to do that. Some say are like, at least we give credit to Jim Knowles for waiting until after the transfer window closes, so it didn't just open up a can of worms. Um, but yeah, man, I think it's a great move um, for Ohio State to test themselves. What I mean by that is like to see what is this team made of. Can you keep going in the right direction? And it's on Ryan Day now. He's the CEO now. That's what he's worried about, and I'm interested to see kind of what takes place, and go from there. Did you find it?
Was it a tweet or was it a video? Because if it's a tweet, I can't find
It
anything
might have
with
been
the
a
word
it might have
mansion.
been a video. I don't know. I'll have to find it. I'll have to figure it. Anyways, so basically, I'll summarize what he
Oh,
said.
I
So
found it.
basically,
I didn't
okay,
go back
can you
for
read it for
enough.
us? Can you read it? Can you read
Yeah,
it
he
for us?
said Ohio State having to go hire a DC after winning a national title is like having to remodel the kitchen in a mansion. It's a massive pain, but you can afford it, and there are worse problems to have.
Which I agree with. That quote actually helped me kind of get through this like frustration period because I think it is kind of rude the way that the story came out, like Ohio State celebrating their national title, and the same day, this is being reported, and I'm just like, really, guys, we could have timed it better. But at the end of the day, I, look, he got us a championship and brought it back to Columbus. It helped us at least, and I'm okay with that. But you never usually see a coordinator go to either a lateral move or a downgrade. Normally, you see coordinators take take NFL jobs or they take head coaching jobs, and so that's for me a little weird, I guess. Um, I don't know. It just feels a little weird the move, and especially because it's in conference. He went to Oklahoma because I know he's got family connections there. That would have made like okay, I'm fine with that. Or even if he went to Notre Dame, I'd have been like okay, whatever. But the fact that it's Penn State and they face November 1st, it's the same as like Hero Canoe, who just won a championship with Ohio State and is now transferring to Texas. Like, again, you're going to face them like the first week of the season. It'll be interesting. But, I think at the end of the day, I think there's going to be the right move out there. But I can't wait to slaughter them when he has to face this offense for real next time.
Is there a name out there that you would like to see Ohio
Mm,
State get? Because some of the
yes.
bigger DCs in the sport have been on the move already. We've
Yeah.
seen Al Golden just go to the NFL with the Bengals. Today, Notre
Yeah.
Dame also replaced him with Chris Ash.
Former
Uh,
Ohio State coach, by the way. Um,
yeah,
I w- I would say this. Obviously, Leonard. I think it's Leonard. Is that his last name? Yeah.
Jim Leonard.
So he's at the Denver Broncos right now. I know they reached out to him. It doesn't look like he's coming back to come back to college ranks. Jeff Hafley would be great to bring back, but again, he's got the best gig in the world. I mean, he doesn't have to recruit, and he's making a bunch of money with the Packers. I really hope they sign Guerreri, who's already on staff at Ohio State. He ran this defense at Indiana. He also was with Jim Knowles for many years. He coached these safeties, and Josh, you brought it up many times. The safeties were like the key of that defense, and that's the guy that coached them. Also, Tim Walton wouldn't be bad. He hasn't been a DC in like 12 years, so I'd rather go with Guerreri. He's younger. You want to keep him on staff. You would hate to lose him to Penn State too, because you know what that would happen if they don't give him the DC job. He's most likely following Knowles. So for me, I think Guerreri makes the most sense. Now, will Ryan Day think that's a flashy enough move? I don't know,
Yeah, because
but I do.
that's a promoting from within and inside hire,
Yeah,
which isn't always
but
the
I do. But
sexiest
I do
thing.
know that all the coaches respect him. The players love him, and he's only 38 years old. So he's a young guy. He's a fiery guy. And I think you can kind of promote guys within other ways or go out and hire a safety coach, whatever. Um, but also, someone brought up a big point is that maybe you do a co-D coordinator where you keep both Walton and him happy and they become co-defense coordinators. We've seen it work in the past. I don't know if it would really work, but the only other big name I was thinking about is bringing back Luke Fickell. And I know that sounds wild because he's at Wisconsin as head coach, but we saw them do that with Chip Kelly. It would not shock me. It would not shock me if a call's not at least made to Luke Fickell saying, hey, we'll spend the buyout because I don't think he has that big of a buyout and come back to DC, kind of what Chip Kelly's doing as an OC. And to bring, I mean, that'd be crazy, but it's stuff's been crazier in the past. So, yeah, that's my thought. What about you?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they went inside hire with how they've gone out and like made the big moves to go out and get guys like Jim
Yeah.
Knowles and be willing to pay that, and also getting a big name like Chip Kelly to come in. Like they've gone out and like gotten the flashy guys, and you can't tell me that that didn't help them just win this national championship.
Yep.
Uh, so if they just were to promote somebody from within, I'd be a little shocked. But yeah, I think that this is Ohio State. I think that Ryan Day will find a really solid outside hire name that maybe we're not thinking of. Some of my other friends have been talking about the defensive coordinator at Iowa, giving him a good enough offer
Yeah.
because he's a Lorain,
Yeah.
Ohio native, so he's at least an in-state guy. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we just seen Golden leave, we've seen Ash leave. I don't know how patient you can afford to be in this search because guys are moving around right now. It's that time of the year, but. We'll find out. Yeah, if I'd be more shocked if they went with the with someone on the inside already, but with the way you just laid it out, I mean, Ohio State's done stuff like that in the past. I just think that Ryan Day isn't really looking to do that much more now these days.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be something to definitely keep an eye on. Maybe they'll even already have a name by the time that this podcast comes
Yeah, it
out,
could
but
be. And maybe I'm right. And that would be normal because I normally am right. So
all right. Not entirely wrong, but
just want to
anyway,
remember Sauce Gardner. Just remember that.
remember Sauce Gardner.
If
Uh,
you don't know, if you're not an OG of the show, you won't understand that at all. But just go back a few years to when we did. I have lived on this being correct about this pick since that pick in the draft, and Josh gets more frustrated every time I say it. So, you know,
I tried to get like a asterisk win by saying that Derek Stingley was going to be the first corner taken, and he still
Oh,
was. It just
jeez.
wasn't to the Jets like what I said. But
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay.
yeah, I gotta
Hmm.
find my points where I can. Are you ready to talk about this next topic?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, a big W for Reds country.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Ellie
awesome.
De La
Oh,
Cruz, along with Gunnar Henderson and Paul Skeens, they're getting some of the game's youngest stars to be on the cover of the new MLB The Show game
first
that'll
red
come
ever.
out this year. The first
First
red
red
ever,
ever.
correct? Um, Off the top of my head, I would guess it's also the first Oriole and Pirate.
I th- Pirate no, because McCutcheon's been on it.
Oh yeah, McCutcheon has been a cover athlete, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we'll scratch
I
that.
don't
But anyway,
I think technically Ripken was on it once, so I don't think Orioles count either.
like not as like a deluxe or a special edition, the legit
No, I
cover
think it was
athlete.
pretty sure it was like because back at the beginning of MLB The Show, I believe. I can't be
Hmm.
positive on that, but I'm pretty sure there's been at least one Oriole. I know for sure there hasn't been any Reds because Ken Griffey was on it, but that was him in his Mariners uniform. It wasn't as a Red.
Right. Yeah, that was like some kind of
2020, I
anniversary
believe it was like
edition, right?
2019 or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find a chart of all the former cover
But yeah,
athletes. But
but I'll just
for
say
Ellie, it's
like yeah,
very
I think
cool.
no, it's cool for Ellie because I think he kind of gets overshadowed a little bit because I mean, not a lot, but just a tad because he is in Cincinnati. I mean, let's be honest, like the Dodgers are going to win the World Series this year, most likely. I mean, the way that roster's freaking shaping out. Um, but it's cool for to see Ellie because I think he's such a lovable guy and just the way he does the game of baseball and so I'm excited for him. I'm worried though because that usually means you slump the year that you're on there, so we maybe have to regress a little bit, but that's all right. But it's just really cool for him and it's an honor for the Reds and everything that goes with it.
Looking through, no Orioles. So if Ripken was in the cover, it was some kind of like deluxe or
Yeah, probably
special
special edition.
edition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's funny to see some of the names that have actually been on the cover. Like Yasiel Puig has been a cover athlete. Jazz Chisholm recently cover athlete. Javi Baez has been a cover athlete.
Yeah,
There was the year that Joe Mauer was back to back on the cover, which was pretty sweet.
yeah.
And then last year's athlete, of course, Vlad Guerrero Jr. Balled out on his year. Otani's been a cover athlete and he did well. So it's not a guaranteed curse. You do get to see some solid guys, or guys have some solid seasons the year they are the
Some,
cover
yeah.
athlete. Yeah, but
It's true.
especially in Madden's the game that everybody always talks about. That it's like
Yeah, that
that's
curse.
it's scary to be on that one. Yeah. Um, Trying to think if there's been any new baseball moves lately. I know that Pete Alonso is still available. Alex Bregman is still available, and the
Gavin Lux
Astros.
got traded to the Reds.
Yeah, that was a little while ago. I don't even remember if we got
Yeah,
to talk
we
about
didn't really
that
talk about it.
much.
No, Gavin Lux got traded, which was a nice addition for the Reds.
Yeah, yeah, with all these guys that the Dodgers been bringing in, there just wasn't enough room for him, I guess. But
I'll
thought the
take
Reds
him.
got a nice value trade out of
They
that.
also
Took
got
advantage of the
Austin Hayes as
situation.
well. They signed Austin Hayes today, which is
That's
a
right.
name from
Yeah,
the past.
yeah. We'll find out if I don't know how long it'll take, but Bregman and Alonso, if they'll stick with their current teams or if they're going to be on the move. I know at the Mets, it's like a money thing with how much they just gave Soto, how much they're currently giving Lindor, and if
Yeah.
there's enough for Pete to be able to stay. And then it's kind of the same with the Astros. I've been trying to figure out what the Astros exactly are doing because they've made some moves that'd be like, okay, they're giving up on the current roster and they're gonna look to rebuild here maybe soon. But then they've
Oh,
also made some moves where it's like maybe they're trying to win right now. I don't know.
well, breaking news as of 10 minutes ago, as we're recording this, Reds reportedly are acquiring left-handed pitcher Taylor Rogers from the Giants.
Hmm. Excited?
So I mean, it's a lefty, which I feel like the Reds never have outside of Lodolo. I feel like we never have lefties at all. Like, I literally just feel like we never have lefties in the bullpen, or so that's nice to have. So I'm interested to see what they gave up, though. That's always worries me.
Mhm.
Um, but they said they're requiring from him. It doesn't really say what yet, so I will have to look. But Man, that's awesome though. That gives another arm, man. Because that was the one thing we talked about last year with the Reds. Remember, they had guys going 4 innings, like they had no depth at all. So yeah, it's very interesting though. I
Yeah.
like the move though. I like the move.
Speaking of moves, front offices, money and stuff, did you see Hal Steinbrenner's quote about the Dodgers?
I did not. What was the quote?
All right, well, in a recent interview, he was talking about the way that the Dodgers have been spending, what it means for baseball, and those kind of things. And his response was, it's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kind of things that they're doing. Uh, we'll see if it pays off. That
I
was
mean,
on the Yes Network.
I mean, he does have a point. Like they haven't been able to make, like they haven't really been able to capitalize on this for consecutive years or for a long run, which, again, when you're in LA, you have a lot of that money, like whatever, but it's not gonna sustain forever, man. It's really not because there's gonna be at a point where guys are tired of just going to a team and maybe not getting the same reps as another guy would. I don't know. It'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see.
He went on to say they still have to have a season that's relatively injury-free for it to work out for them. It's a long season, as you know, and once you get to the postseason, anything can happen. We've seen that time and time again. We'll see who's there at the end. But I just thought it was interesting coming from Hal Steinbrenner,
I know.
the
Yeah,
Yankees
yeah, yeah.
owner, another team that tends to spend a lot of money and is talking about it. Basically, the only team that's one of the only teams that's spending more than them. Like it's difficult to compete with that. It's like you're the Yankees. This has like been your MO most of the time.
Dude, it's funny because it's finally come to reality for the Yankees, which makes me so much more happy.
They're still spending a lot of money. Like even this offseason, they've been busy going out and getting like Max Fried and they brought in Cody Bellinger. But yeah, just
Oh yeah.
I just thought it was funny hearing like another high spending owner, another rich owner like talk like that.
Another guy, rich
Yeah.
guy.
Uh, the last thing we had on the agenda today is just this interesting Jimmy Butler story that's been happening. Like it seems like over the last couple weeks, just drama in Miami. It seems like Butler wants to be out. Not he's been suspended by the team before for contract detrimental to the team. I think right now he's on an indefinite suspension and he might be on the trade block right now. Wants to get out of that place, which
Hmm.
we've seen Jimmy Butler act this way before on some of the other places that he's gone. But I always thought it was because of maybe things with teammates, just wanting to get to a situation he thought he could win in. But yeah, so Miami's got a tough spot that they're in right now. Right now they're sixth in the Eastern Conference, so it's not like they're totally out of it. They're in a winning situation right now, but it's just crazy seeing stuff like this.
Hmm.
Just in the way that the modern
Yeah.
NBA is, the way that players can pull off stuff like this, and it's just okay, and teams gotta roll with it. They're stuck. They're stuck.
Well, I've always said that the NBA has become more of a drama centered league. I mean, like it feels like LeBron always has something to say about something, and KD and all these guys. Like, man, that's why I like Jokic because, like, yeah, he averages a triple double, and I know most people don't think he should be deserved the MVP, but he is the best player in basketball right now. It's not even close. And I like him. I like Doncic as well because a lot of these guys they don't talk a lot. They just go and let their play talk, and they just enjoy the game. Like Jimmy Butler, you're making millions of dollars. Fans pay to go see you play. Like just suck it up a little bit. Like if they say no, they say no. Like you're under contract. Just kind of deal with it. So, um, yeah, it is interesting. But at the same time, I'm not surprised. It's kind of the way Jimmy Butler is and the way the NBA is right now, and so it's not shocking to me.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody will be willing to take a risk bringing him in because you'd hate to have someone ruin your culture or bring your team down or him just like pull something like this
Cavs,
later in the
stay away.
season. Yeah, uh,
Please stay away.
getting another like role piece for the Cavs I think would be nice before the trade deadline comes into effect. But yeah, don't go out and do something like this. Don't break the core up to bring in a guy like Jimmy Butler. As good of a player as I
Yeah.
think he is, it's just not worth it. But
No, no, no.
speaking of also today's modern NBA, Ben, this graphic has been going around because Joel Embiid just missed his 400th
I
career
saw that.
game while only playing
Nuts.
446 games.
Dude, this would, if I saw this as a teammate, I would lose my mind. Like, I would legit be like, you complain about all these things and yet you can't even play. Like, you have no, like, he should not be allowed to complain anymore. He shouldn't be allowed to ask for certain things. Like, he should be, the only time is when he's consecutively on the practice field, the practice facility, and in games.
Even if you take out like his first 2 seasons, I know he didn't play a single game because of the injuries. That's
Still like,
164
still
games.
like 30%.
Yeah, that still means that he's missed well over 200 after that, like even after his third season.
That is wild.
Yeah, that league's crazy. Well, that's everything that I think we had
Yeah.
on the agenda today, Ben.
Yeah, it's true.
A little bit shorter of a show, but a little more
Yeah.
of a
And there
jam-packed
will
one.
be shorter shows throughout this weird time because obviously baseball hasn't quite started yet. March Madness isn't here yet. So this time from January, mid-January to end of February, it can be shorter shows just because there's not as much to talk about. But trust me, we will do a March Madness bracket episode where literally the whole episode is just us discussing our picks and how Josh and I last year, if you don't know, we were both horrendous last year.
I
So
got
we'll
my
see if that
national
actually,
champion pick right, though. I think we both did.
yeah,
We both called UConn.
that is true. We did. But yeah, be interested to
Everybody
see
else did, though,
with
too.
that for sure. Yeah, that is true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Actually, I was looking
But
at rankings this week, Ben. SEC's got 7 of the top 15 teams right now.
listen, I know you're happy because,
They're going to
Florida's at
hold
least
on to this one
at
with the way
least
that football season
at
went.
least at least Florida's like relevant in basketball compared to your old
It's
football
been
team.
once every 5 years, so it was bound to happen.
It's
They'll
got to, right?
disappear. They'll disappear again after that.
It's the way it works, right? So, yeah, what an episode, fun episode. Again, I want you before we do anything in the comment section below, or you can let us know too. I want you to tell us what do you think about the Super Bowl coming up. What do you think about the different things happening in college football coaching landscape, and as well as what is your prediction for where Jimmy Butler will end up? Will he end up at home, or will he end up at another team? Yeah, let us know down below. If you love listening to the episode, go ahead and click that thumbs up button. If you love watching, I should say, go ahead and click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Just allows us to reach more people, and we get to hear people get shocked that Josh's co-host is not in America and he's living in another country. It's a great little tidbit for our show. We should have a shirt that says that. Ben's not here, literally. That should be a shirt for the show. If anybody wants to do that listening, feel free. Let us know. And then also, if you love listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave us a rating. 5 stars would be phenomenal. And then share that link with your friends and family. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see ya.